Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV Podcast. This is episode 25, week of November 4th, 2023. My name's Drew Koenig. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mads Pasassi. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So, how was your week?
It was busy. The start of the month is always hectic with marketing because you have your monthly customers that their plan starts over, you know? And so like you have to be like in meetings all the time to make sure, okay, this is what we have to do this month for this customer, blah, 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 blah. But it's also November, which means we're getting into the final parts of the final quarter. And so we're also looking towards, okay, we need to make sure this customer has this X, Y, and Z done by December 31st. And so you're just like, oh God, it was insane. It was just a crazy week. And normally my employer is very much, you work 8 to 5, clock out at 5, don't think about anything till the next day. And if it doesn't get done on Friday, it can wait till Monday. But
Right.
this week, it was not a matter of they were not very keen on, oh, this can wait till Monday.
Right.
Or just like, can we please just let it wait till Monday? That'd be great. What about you?
It was a rough week. I won't deny that. Let's go over some news. So we got a good bit this week. But first, let's start with an update on the strike.
Yes.
I think we said the last couple weeks, SAG and the AMPTP have been meeting. As of today, and as we're recording this, the AMPTP has given SAG-AFTRA what they're calling their best, last, and final offer, which they have said before. Essentially every time they've said that. You know what? It's like if you hung out with your friend, and when you hang out, your friend goes, the next time we hang out, I'm going to punch you in the face. And then each consecutive time, no punches are thrown.
Right.
At a certain point, the effect of that threat would not hold.
Right.
At a certain point, you're just not getting punched in the face. You're fine. You're just two people hanging out. And that's what this is. It's just like, no, if this doesn't go through, you're just gonna give us another offer. So that's what that is. I have heard a rumor or two that it's a supposedly good offer, but we'll see on the actual meat of that. Beyond that, the most prominent piece of news of the week is that Matthew Perry, who is most famous for his role on Friends, but also a number of movies such as The Whole Nine Yards, and
I loved him in Fools Rush In.
yes, that was the one I was just thinking of. Let's think of it. Fools Rush In, yes. Who tragically passed away over the week by the latest update I think I heard was that it was a drowning. But
yeah, and there was
the
exact details are not forthcoming at this time, but I had read initially that like cardiac arrest was mentioned and also drowning all in the same report. So like my opinion is he probably had a heart attack and drowned in his hot tub.
Yeah, that is possible.
Probably what happened. We might know in time, or we may never know.
Yeah, at a certain point, it's not ours to know.
Right, exactly. It's a very sad and sudden death, so it was definitely one that I was at dinner with a friend when the news broke, and my roommate was blowing up my phone. I said to my friend, I was like, hold on 1 second. I was like, my roommate never like does this. Like she never like bothers me this much. Usually she'll send me one text and then be like, whatever. But I was like, oh my God. And I didn't believe her. So I literally had to Google it right there in the middle of dinner with my friend. And I was like, Matthew Perry died. And he goes, shut the fuck up. That's not true. it was just one of those things that you were like, that this has got to be a hoax.
Mhm. Yeah.
It can't be real because he was he'd worked so hard to pull himself up and back on a good path in his life. And like, you know, I just, so tragic.
Right. Yes. For those that don't know, Matthew Perry had battled addiction for a great many years and was on a well on a path of recovery, and
Mhm.
had notably been helping others on that path as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
he was
Yeah,
he was
it's
still he was still very young. Um, he was in his he was what 54,
yeah, 54.
54. Um, and by all accounts, sounded like he was preparing for a comeback of sorts. So,
Mhm. Yeah, one of the things that really like I really enjoyed reading was Hank Azaria, who, if people that know Friends will know, he played the scientist that Phoebe dated in season 1, I believe. Maybe it was 2. He came out recently and it said that like Matthew Perry helped him get sober. Even though Matthew Perry wasn't sober himself, he helped Hank Azaria get sober. And I was
right.
like, that's insane. Like, he couldn't do it for himself, but he was able to do it for others. And like that, I think is definitely should be his legacy, as he had stated he wanted to be his legacy.
Mhm.
Um, was that he was able to help others even if he couldn't help himself. And it is what we should think about. Obviously, of course, Chandler is like an iconic character, but these actors are more than the characters they play.
Right. Yes. Yes. Um, yeah. Perry had also had some very good roles on The West Wing and
Yes.
The Good Wife and The Good Fight.
Yep.
And two very,
Didn't his role on The West Wing get him a nomination for the Emmys?
I believe that's true.
I believe it did.
I believe it is.
I
Um,
just know that it was very iconic to me.
yes, and they were great roles, um, and Harry brought a lot to them. But yes, his um, off the screen work is most paramount. If not the first thing we talk about, should be in the top three.
Yeah,
So yeah, just a really crushing loss. I would have been really interested in like what an old man like an older man Matthew Perry would have done, because like
definitely.
his post Friends work was really interesting.
Yeah.
So I would be interested in like what his post Friends work is.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like hadn't realized, like maybe because like when I saw it at the time, like I wasn't like registering for me of that as that, but he did a few guest roles with his own father, playing his father in different shows and stuff. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing to me. Like, could you imagine like getting to play alongside your father
Hmm.
and have a good time and just get to play father and son? Like, that's, I don't know. It was just one of those things I was like, that's cool. That's something that he got to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
I want to say on Scrubs, and there was another show that he did where him and his father played alongside each other, but I can't remember which one it was.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, definitely Scrubs. And I was like, I remember that Scrubs episode, but I was like, I didn't realize like that was his dad.
On a lighter note, uh, over the week HBO had a press event, and perhaps in correlation with this occurring, there was a report that in 2020 and 2021, somewhere within that time frame, um, HBO president Casey Bloys instructed the interns at HBO to create fake social media accounts and troll critics that gave their shows bad reviews or
What?
negative. Did you not see this?
No. Oh my god, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but it also makes so much sense
Yeah, so
for
like they found
HBO.
replies to like James Podwazik at the New York Times and Alan Sepinwall at Rolling Stone. Um, and there was they all had like a very specific kind of account that reply that the interns would make to reply. Uh, And it was always something absurd like, um, you know, herbalists from Texas or something, like
That is hilarious. I did not know this.
And
Now you know.
I believe it was a report from Rolling Stone that put this out. And then Casey Blaze responded, and I was like, you know what? We're in lockdown. Those weird times.
But I mean, considering the decisions that HBO makes on a daily, that doesn't surprise me.
hmm Uh, yeah, there's so much to unpack there, though. Like, I've been doing this for a while. That's one of the most unhinged things I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been a critic for a while now too, and it's just like that's insane. That
That's
that can't be. You know what it makes me think of? It literally makes me think of like when we were in like middle school or high school and we had like IM accounts and we would
mm,
make a fake one to bash someone that like talked nasty to us at school. Like that is what it seems like. Like that's legitimately what it it feels very cliquish middle school behavior. And more specifically, not to be gender specific, but like it's very much a teenage girl behavior. Like,
right. No, I mean, yeah, I'd love to disagree with that, but also, in middle school, my best friend was dating my cousin,
yeah.
and she and her friend created like this fake account to troll my cousin to like see what he would say, and it's like it's all of that vein.
Insane behavior.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Has anybody recently checked on the age level of these interns?
I mean, they've got to be in their 20s, right?
Are we sure about this? Because it sounds like a prepubescent child.
Like they've got to be in their 20s. But like, imagine that's your day at work. You come into the HBO offices, and Casey Bloys is like, "All right, here's the agenda for today. Get coffee, make some copies, make these fake Twitter accounts, and then like they have to like search for every review that's being put out for their shows.
That has to be the most inane, obnoxious part of a day. Like just sitting there being like, okay, I have to research and then read every single review that's been written about this show today. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, thank you. Like, what? You couldn't pay me enough to do that shit.
Beyond that, uh, there was an actual HBO press event where they outlined the next year or two for HBO shows. They did not mention Our Flag Means Death, but it's
Nope.
the word was that they're still looking at the looking at
They're
the data
they're
for that.
trying, yeah, the word is that they're trying to assess the numbers and see how the audience feels, and I'm like, bitch, it's one of your top shows, like just renew it.
Just
Like
to know it, yeah.
if you look at Twitter right now, you're going to think everybody hates the show because there are people that are being very loud about how much they dislike the finale. If you look beyond that, you'll see there's still plenty of people that absolutely love the show and have watched the finale and the whole season multiple times since it's airing. So, like, just renew it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just renew it. Like,
Uh,
don't be dumb.
yeah, yeah. But otherwise, there's some good shows coming down the pipeline for HBO. On January, you have True Detective season 4 and Curb Your Enthusiasm season 12. In the spring,
Mm.
The Regime starring Kate Winslet and The Sympathizer. And then you have a couple docu-series, Gerard and The Jinx Part 2. Younger people, I can't wait for the younger people, like the Gen Z crowd, to like research The Jinx.
Hmm.
Because that was insane. I don't think people will appreciate how insane that
Yeah.
was. Like,
Yeah.
the ethics rules regarding like documentary filmmaking that got broken during that show is insane.
Mhm.
But a
Yeah.
part two of that is coming out. And also you have Tokyo Vice season two, which the first season was rather well received. Pretty Little Liars, Summer School, the first season of which I quite enjoyed.
Is that what the spinoff was called? I don't know. I don't.
It was called the first season was Original Sin.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So they're just making a new title per season, kind of like other shows.
I guess
Okay.
it's the same cast, same characters.
I just I just remember watching this first season of this spinoff,
Mhm.
and in the finale, the one girl's like heavily pregnant, and she's like running around like she's not pregnant at all. And I'm just like, girl, you ain't you need to act more pregnant. I just remember like like literally yelling that at the TV as I watched with my roommate, and we're like laughing hysterically at how absurd the the finale kind of was. But it was decent. We enjoyed ourselves, but
I mean, in comparison to OG Pretty Little Liars,
it's pretty
it is
tame.
far more grounded
Yeah,
and
it's
and,
pretty tame
and much
considering
more
I
cohesive as a plot.
yeah, considering with the original Pretty Little Liars, I stopped watching around the time that they were like, "Oh, you have a there was a sibling that changed genders," and I'm like, "What? Okay, now we're just making up shit." And then I found out later that there was like twins involved in this in the storyline and somewhere, and I'm like, "What?"
I couldn't even begin to describe the plot of Pretty Little Liars to you.
I know. I'm just like, I liked the books. Like that's the thing. I read a few of the books and I enjoyed them. And so then I went into the first season being like, "Oh, I'm going to like this." And I'm like, "Okay, we're just not going to use the book's plot at all, really." Okay, cool. Um like the guy that Spencer dates in the beginning, like he dies in the first book, like 30 pages into his introduction. Like he doesn't survive very long. But then he's in the whole series, and I'm like, okay, we're changing things up. Got it.
Whatever. Whatever.
We love it. We love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Hmm.
is it is a bold move to not have the show come out in the summer. What are we doing? This is such a layup.
Yeah, that's the other thing I saw. I was like, wait, it's called Summer School, but it's coming out in the early part of the year. Okay.
This was such an easy layup. What are we even doing here, guys? Uh, then you also have Hack season 3, which will be the final season of that. Um,
Which I love that show. It's so good.
mhm. Sex Lives of College Girls season 3, which I greatly enjoy that show.
Is that
Um,
one the last season as well, I think? Or am I wrong?
I don't think it's the last season. Renee Rapp will be leaving it halfway through.
Okay. Maybe that's what
Uh,
I'm thinking of. But yeah, that's a great show too.
Great show. In the summer, House of the Dragon season 2 will come out. Um,
Why are we getting never mind. I'm not never
which
mind.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
care
keep my
about
mouth
that.
shut.
I don't care about that show. My Brilliant Friend season 4, which is the final season of that, which I've heard is very good, but seems like a downer, so I haven't watched it.
I've
Uh,
never seen it, so yeah.
Industry season 3, which I've also heard is quite good. Um, the Franchise, which I believe is like a fictional filming of like a superhero movie.
I love that. I love that premise. Like that's
Yeah.
just a fun premise.
So it's like Veep by way of like making making a Marvel movie. Um, uh, the Penguin, which is the spinoff from Robert Pattinson's The Batman. Um,
Okay.
Dune
That could be
Prophecy, which is
interesting.
a prequel of Dune, which came out last year, and
Mhm.
sequel or part two will come out sometime next year. Um, and then in 2025, White Lotus season 3, Last of Us season 2, and Welcome to Derry, which tragically is not a Dairy Girls spinoff, but
No,
it is
it's a Stephen King thing, isn't it?
yes, it is a
Yep.
prequel to Stephen King's It.
Of course it is. Sorry. Listen.
Which, as a lifelong Stephen King fan, I am neither excited for, but not excited for.
Yeah, I love Stephen King as much as the next person. But I don't know. I don't know.
Right? No.
I
Like,
have I have mixed feelings about it. I'm like, I'll probably watch it because my roommate and I, like I said, my roommate and I love Stephen King, so we'll probably watch it together. But it's one of those things that, like, do we really need it? Probably not.
right. Like if we're talking about like recent Stephen King TV stuff, I would have much rather see more of like Castle Rock,
Mm-hmm.
even though that
Yeah.
wasn't a perfect iteration of what that could have been, but was a fairly interesting take on Stephen King. But yeah, so that's HBO stuff.
We got quite a bit to look forward to.
Quite a bit. HBO's got some good stuff.
They usually do. I say this. I was saying this to someone the other day that, like, oh, I think it was my mother actually. That some of the best television shows on my list of shows that I love are either HBO or Showtime shows, and I'm like, it's because I don't know what it is. I'm like, but the quality is always, it seems to be a step above, and I appreciate it.
Right. Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Oh, is it because they get better budgets?" I'm like, "Not necessarily."
Let's move on into the GOAT. So the GOAT is a weekly segment we do here on the podcast where myself and Mads nominate a best TV character or episode of all time and pit them against each other in a poll on Twitter and TikTok. Last week, I nominated WKRP in Cincinnati, Season 1, Episode 7, Turkeys Away. And Mads nominated Olivia Benson from Law & Order SVU. Unsurprisingly, Mads won.
You mean the turkeys didn't win?
The Turkeys did not win.
That's sad.
The Turkeys made a valiant effort, but they did not win. So, that being said, I get to go first this week. So, since we have a very particularly timey-wimey episode of Loki this week, I was thinking about other timey-wimey episodes that would not involve me having to pick Doctor Who again.
Yeah. Valid.
Which brought me to what I think is one of the better examples of time travel in the last few years. And I'm also not able to pick the constant because we already picked that one. So, my pick for the GOAT this week is The Magicians, Season 3, Episode 5, entitled A Life in the Day. This episode follows Quentin, played by Jason Ralph, and Elliot, played by Hale Appleman, who, while trying to get to the magical land of Fillory that they go to multiple times throughout the show, which is kind of a riff on C.S. Lewis's Narnia, end up going into the past and you watch as they kind of get stuck there and have to build a life and kind of just settle down together. And Quentin getting married, getting married to like this village girl, and then like Quentin and Elliot getting married to each other, and like having a kid, and like this weird, but also good like portrayal of like a poly relationship, and going through it all the way, and like watching them grow old and dying, and then at the end of the episode with them being back in like their normal timeline and like quasi remembering it. Like it's such a good and one of the best examples of like the magicians hitting in this really deep emotional way. And it's just like this this quiet little episode of Magicians that is often like so bombastic and so weird that I just like I can't help but appreciate it. So yeah, that's my pick this week for the GOAT.
That's a good one. Honestly, like, oh, it made me ship them harder. All right. Well, my pick for this week is also an episode. So I was watching fellow travelers and just falling in love with the beautiful way that Matt Bomer tells a story and really dives into a character and brings his natural charm into such characters. And it made me think about the first time I ever knew who Matt Bomer was, which was when I decided to start watching White Collar, probably like a decade ago. And one of the best episodes that I remember from White Collar is season 2, episode 10. Yes, 10, called Burke's 7. And for people that don't really know White Collar is Matt Bomer plays this man who has been a white collar criminal for many, many, many years. And he then gets put into a deal to get him out of prison where he works for the FBI as like a liaison informant type person, and he works hand in hand with Peter Burke, who is an agent. And over time their bond becomes this brotherhood, this friendship that is really strong. And in season 2 episode 10, one of Neil, that's Matt Bomer's character, Neil's associates, Mozzie, gets shot by a hitman, and it ends up being that Neil knows who the real killer is, but the real killer has worked his magic and planted evidence to make it look like Peter Burke, the FBI agent, is the one that killed or tried to kill Mozzie. And so Peter Burke gets suspended by the FBI, and it's up to Neil to clear his name. And it's one of those episodes that's so beautifully written and so beautifully done, because it's the one of the first times that we have to see Neil actually like think of someone else's future outside of his own. Like he's a good friend to Peter throughout the series, but like he's very selfish. He's very much, I want what I want. I have a past that I need to contend with. I have goals that I have by taking this deal of working with the FBI. Like I can get my own means based off of that. And this is one of the first times that he sits down and he helps clear Peter's name and shows to Peter that he appreciates all that Peter has done for him and appreciates the bond that they have, and that he can be trusted and respected. And it's just, it's just such a wonderful episode. And so yeah, that's my GOAT pick for this week. It's White Collar, season 2, episode 10, Burke's 7.
It's a good pick.
Yeah.
It's good. So you can go vote for these on Twitter and TikTok. You'll have 2 days to vote once they go up. And be sure to like and share it on whatever social media platform you are currently using. And without anything else, we will move on into the main part of our show.
I chased after a dream. It all seemed so simple, but get close to a star and you can't see it twinkle. Some dreams are you wanting, but not doing or making. The feeling is haunting, but remember, when waking, chase the dream in real life.
So
Don't
our
go
first show
back
for this
to
week
sleep.
is continuing our
The
Adventure
dream
Time rewatch with season 5, episode 30, Frost and Fire, episode 31, Too Old, and episode 32, Earth and Water. So let's start with Frost and Fire, which I said to you when we started the season that Finn does two of the worst things he ever does on the show in the season. We already saw the first one with all the little people, and this is the second one with Austin Fire, seeing how he breaks up with the princess.
He's like, oh, I can convince the fire princess and Ice King to fight each other. That's not going to be damaging at all.
Right.
What?
Finn, like, this also connects to all the little people, where when Finn gets this thing where he's like, oh, this feels really good. I should just continue to do the thing that feels really good.
Yeah.
You know? And he's not always aware, or he's not equipped to be aware of, like, the ways that can be damaging. Yeah, it's really like this is an episode I often skip when I rewatch Adventure Time, because it's really difficult to watch Finn just like blow up his life.
Yeah, I was like, I like you, buddy, but man, you fucked up.
Yeah, and it's just, there's so many steps that Finn has to take to get to the point that he gets at the end of the episode, and it's just like so many like little betrayals, like paving bricks on a street, you know, like just thing upon a thing upon a thing, and like by the end of it, you're like, oh my god, like,
yeah.
Even when we're just at like when Finn gets Flame Princess to fight Ice King for the second time, and he preys on her insecurities of like, hey, he said something to you, hey, he said something mean, he's making fun of you, like Flame Princess says at the end of the episode, only you could have known that button to push.
Yep. That's the thing that broke my heart the most, was that, like, because I've been there in a friend situation or whatever, where I've told something to someone and then they later on used it against me, and it's like, it sucks. Like, I felt for her and I wanted to punch Finn in the face.
Right. Yes. Well, even like even just with like Ice King, Finn, you are evoking the name of Simon in this deranged dream quest. Like that's not okay. That's wrong. That is an objectively wrong thing you're doing.
Yep.
Because A, you know who Simon is. You know what that is, and also you know how Ice King feels about that.
Right.
You know, you're not ignorant in any part of this.
Exactly. And like, you can't even claim, oh, I had no idea, because you use every manipulation in the book.
Yes. And it's also a good example of the way that while Finn is deeply immature and selfish, Jake is an enabler.
Yep.
Because he sees what's happening. He knows what Finn has to do, and he still says, you should do this for reasons. Right? For, you know, nonsense cosmic owl bullshit.
Yeah. He's like, oh, well, Cosmic Owl was there? Well, then you have to make sure you finish your sequence and figure it out.
Right, yes.
Well, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He does not need to finish this. Let it go.
Yeah. It does bring up like an uncomfortable thing with like the Cosmic Owl, of like the Cosmic Owl is just like this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Right? Because Finn wouldn't go down the path he goes down in this episode if the Cosmic Owl wasn't there prompting him, right?
Okay. And honestly, it makes me think of pretty much any kind of prophecy in series all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, with the first one that comes to mind is Star Wars, with Anakin, he sees a vision of his wife dying, and so he goes on this quest to like save her life, and by going to save her life he ends up killing her.
Right.
Fulfills the prophecy of her dying in childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's the thing, like, whenever there's that question posed of would you want to know the future or have more knowledge about something in the past, I'm like, always the past. Like, I don't need to know the future because then I will change my path in life to in order to have that happen,
Right,
or prevent it from happening or whatever.
Right, and for me it brings up the question, does the cosmic owl exist to tell people significant things, or does he show up to make sure that the thing that he shows actually happens?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a previous episode that we didn't watch where Jake has a dream where the cosmic owl appears and shows Jake how he's going to die. There's a thing called his stroke dream, and Jake goes like these outrageous lengths to make sure that like he dies that way. But it's this idea of like the cosmic owl showed me something, so this is the way it has to be, you know.
Yep.
So what is the cosmic owl's actual purpose? You know, because Jake seems to think that he's telling important things, but the cosmic owl never tells important things, right? He just tells them how it is. Like when we saw the cosmic owl at the end of the last season with Billy.
Yep.
The cosmic owl isn't imparting knowledge. He's just showing things how it happened or how it might have happened.
Right. Well, and that's the age-old question of, okay, is the chicken or the egg first?
Right.
Is this knowledge helping you, or is it showing you a way to change your path from what you would have normally done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, which is it?
Yeah. But boy, just what a rough episode.
Yeah.
And like the scene of Finn's last dream, where he is the personification of a man-child.
Yep.
And just
like
whining and crying about this thing that he's trying to explain, and it just sounds like a baby crying to Flame Princess.
And he literally caused the destruction of Ice King's entire kingdom.
Yeah.
He destroyed an entire kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Finn, you are a terrible person.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that stopped watching after this episode.
That's valid.
Because it is. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch this happen to Flame Princess.
Mm-hmm.
Who seemed in a very good place prior to this episode.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really rough.
He seemed very stable and very in control, and he went and put fuel on the fire.
Right. And it's this thing of like Quasi being like an allegory to like cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like someone has like this relationship it's in this great place and everything's going right, and you just blow it up for like this rush, for like this kind of chasing after someone else that makes you feel in this kind of way. And here's like Finn chasing this ineffable thing that makes him feel good, but isn't healthy, and he knows it isn't healthy, but he does it anyway.
Yep, exactly. It's just so disappointing.
It is. So let's move on to Too Old, which
It was an episode.
It was an episode that really blew up what was going on with the lemon grabs.
Yeah.
And hey, PB, maybe this wasn't a great plan.
I honestly, one of my favorite moments from this episode is towards the end where like she yells at Finn and like basically gives him the riot act, and I'm like, good, you
Yeah.
need to, because he's being an idiot. Like he's being immature. He thinks this is all a game. He thinks it's all funny. And she's like, no, there's seriously some things going on that need to be handled seriously, and you're being a child. Please go away.
Right. No. We talk about like Bubblegum being a tyrant, but we have the actual emergence of a tyrant here.
Yep.
Like a true autocratic, megalomaniac in the form of I don't love the way this is called, but his name here of Fat Lemon Grab. Like
Yeah.
you have the emergence of that character, and yeah, it's bad. It's really bad, and you can't just do the things that you've always done. Like you can't do these childish games that like worked one time, sort of.
Right. And like you can't just expect that like haha funny takes the place of this young child's life is in danger. Like we're saving a child
Right.
from this man that wants to destroy him.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And like Finn fails to see it. And like I feel like this is where I'm starting to be like, okay, Finn, you need to grow up. Like just grow up already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird for a 14-year-old to be in a state of like arrested development, but that is kind of where he's at right now.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, he's definitely reached a point of I'm not on the same page as everybody else around me.
Right. Yeah.
But and again, this falls to she's like, I don't understand why Jake didn't come with us, and he's like, oh, I don't know, and it's like, because you didn't tell him, because you were like thinking this was a date, and how many times does she have to tell you that she's not interested?
Right.
It falls into that whole caricature of those. There are men out there that like constantly feel like they are owed something by someone they care about in that way, and then when they don't get what they want, they throw a little bit of a hissy fit, and that's basically what Finn did in this episode.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Finn is currently on a journey.
He's on a journey. It's a nice way of putting it.
Well, let's move on to the last episode here, which is Earth and Water, which kind of puts a button on everything that happened with Finn and Flame Princess, but also here brings in Princess Bubblegum, who's like, hey, maybe we could just shut off your emotions. Maybe
that'll help.
Historically, that's always been healthy.
Don't you know, like having no emotions is better than anything? Like in theory, yes. Like wouldn't it be great if we could just turn off these like big feelings? That in theory sounds fantastic, but in practice you're like, oh no, you can't just pick and choose which feelings you turn off. You have to turn them all off.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not at all surprised that Bubblegum would go along with that idea.
Yeah.
Or at the very least champion that idea.
Yeah. And then like to find out that like Bubblegum like had a hand in the not Ice Princess, in the Flame Princess being in the cage that she's in when we first meet her, like
right, which we kind of knew.
Yeah, but like you get more of the story, and it's just like, oh, this is interesting.
Right.
Like,
She had a very direct involvement.
and so did her dad. I'm like, what the frick? Like I'm just like, okay. We knew he was not that nice of a guy, but like your own daughter? Come on, bro.
Well, the interesting thing about Bubblegum's involvement in that is that, like, she doesn't say, "Hey, lock her up in a cage." You know,
No, she doesn't.
she's like,
She's like, not at
"Hey,
all.
deal with this." Like,
Yeah. She's like, I found your daughter. I'm bringing her back to you because you need to deal with her. And
yeah,
he's just like, okay, put her in a cage.
yeah. Like, Bubblegum does not specify in what way Flame King
Right.
deals with her. He decides that that is interpreted as put her in a cage, but Bubblegum doesn't care. Bubblegum just
No.
cares about, like, means to an end, you know?
Especially at that point in her life. Like she was just like being all carefree and da da. So like she doesn't really care or think through her thoughts and relationships, I guess, with
Right.
people, or like her actions, like how they affect other people or how people can interpret them. So like she's definitely, you can tell she's definitely not as mature in this stage of her life as she is currently. And so like it's nice to see that growth in a way.
Yeah, because this is like pre-Finn and Jake, post Marceline. So it's in like she's in like a weird period of her life
Yep.
where like she doesn't really have guiding hands.
Right. And she also doesn't have she isn't as altruistic as she is in the current time. Like she's very in a way she's selfish. Like she's very much, well, this isn't my problem, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Right.
She's like, here's somebody I can pawn this problem off on. It's not my problem.
Right. And like you can say that Bubblegum would prefer like Flame Princess had like been trained and like had control of her abilities, but put her in a cage probably means exactly the same to Bubblegum.
Yes.
It's all just science to her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot of what we see. I love that scene of Flame Princess discovering Bubblegum and they're the cloaked video cameras surrounding her.
Yes.
I just have to imagine, like, does every time that Flame Princess moves, does Bubblegum just like take down all the video cameras and move them, and then waits for Flame Princess to stop moving again, and then just puts them all up silently?
I don't know, but it does make you question. You're like, oh, okay, how does this work?
That does this work?
Listen, it is animated land. We don't have to know the answer to that. It just works.
It just works.
I doubt the writers even thought about that. They were probably just like, what if? And then they didn't think it through for all the implications of, well, now we need to look at this critically. Like, how does this work?
Right. No. It was definitely just funny gag. Uh, yeah.
But these were very, in a way, these were very heavy episodes. You definitely weren't feeling jovial or funny about any of these. Like these were very much, no, there's some serious shit going on.
Right. Yes. And it's definitely it is a point of transition in wintertime. Because a lot of this is like, hey, we got new leadership in the Fire Kingdom. We got bad leadership with the Living Grabs. Like,
really bad considering one eats the other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I believe and Fat Lemon Grab, I think, was the original Lemon Grab.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is all really bad.
He's still annoying though.
He's so annoying. He's always annoying. This can never
God,
change.
that voice. I can't stand his voice. It literally drives me so insane. I'm always like, can you stop talking, please?
Yep.
So of course the music Lemon Grabs would like is the recorder music that is so grating on the nerves. And it makes me have a bit of admiration for my mother, who had 4 children go through the recorder stage of elementary school music class. So I'm like, how did you survive? Because this is annoying. This is not music. This is not music at all.
No.
Anyways,
so for next week, we are going to be watching season 5, episode 33, Time Sandwich, episode 34, The Vault, and episode 45, Blade of Grass.
okay.
So it's a little lighter, a little bit lighter.
Okay. I'll trust you when I watch it. I'll trust it when I see it.
So let's move on to our next show, which is Dimension 20 Fantasy High, episode 6, Brawl at the Black Pit.
Listen, this fight was probably one of my favorite ones that we've listened to so far. Like, Kristen Applebee's just decimated a ton of people in one go, and it was great.
Right. But the episode does kind of demonstrate the way that, like, some of their strategy may still need some honing.
Oh, absolutely. They're like, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Right. Well, like, you have Kristen, who is not being protected, who is their healer. And you have Fabian and Adine, who are just, like, not in the main part of the battle.
Yeah, and they're getting, like, attacked a lot too, and it's like...
Yeah, and they're, like, your main, like, offensive fight. Like, they're your fighters, you know?
Yep.
And, like, they have to fight to be in, like, the main part of the battle. So, like, they're already starting at, like, places of, like, oh, we didn't think this through enough. Like, and it's, you know, that's the same thing that they keep bringing up of, like, in, like, the first and second episodes of, like, oh, we wasted all our spell slots on nonsense things, and then when we got into the actual battle, we didn't have anything to work with, you know? But it's still that same kind of thing of, like, oh, we're not setting ourselves up for the greatest amount of success that we can.
They, honestly, to be honest, I loved it, but, like, they got lucky with regards to the rolls that they had. Like, if they hadn't rolled so good on some of these moves, it would have been, like, disastrous. It would have been the lunchroom all over again.
Right. Yes.
And, like, it's just and to me it was fun because I was like, okay, I'm like imagining the nightclub type scene, and I'm just like trying to imagine a battle in a nightclub, and I'm like, this is hysterical. Also, Gorgug has terrible eyesight, and I love that about him. Because at one point, what's his name that plays Riz is like, wait, what is your eyesight and stuff? And he tells him, and he's like, oh, no wonder you can't see shit. Like,
That's really bad.
he's like, no wonder.
Yeah. No, I do love that moment of Brendan asking Gorgug to roll, and he gets low on like perception, and Brendan's like, "Man, you didn't notice anything," and it's just that thing of like,
he didn't see anything.
Yeah. Oh, we could have just gone the whole season without that reveal, you know?
Yeah.
Like we could have had like a really crucial thing, and it's just like, oh yeah, you just didn't perceive it, so it doesn't matter to you.
I just and I love, and we got to see the what is it they call it, the Tower of Doom, is that what it's called?
Oh, Box of Doom.
Box of Doom, that's right. We got to see that again, which is always fun. And again, it's because Adine was being attacked by a werewolf and she wasn't being protected. And I'm like, this is your magical person, your person that has magic. Why are you not protecting her? Why are you worrying about the DJ instead of worrying about her and the werewolves that are like potentially killing her?
Well, and that's like the good thing about this battle of like how Brennan sets it up, because like you have to take out the DJ, right? Because like that's the main part of your battle,
right?
But it's like, what do you focus your attention on? Do you focus on like the people fighting you, or do you try to get this over with?
Yeah.
But no, like yeah, Gorgug as the barbarian should like be should be protecting people like Adine and Kristen.
Yeah.
Because like that's, I don't know.
And I love that Kristen's like dealing with her mixed up feelings about what's her name that kissed her, and then you've got what's her name, and she like gives bardic inspiration to a rando, and she winks at her to do it, and that woman's just like, oh, hello.
I do love the implication here that all werewolf women are like these butch lesbian types.
Yes. I love it. And honestly, I just love though also that all of these characters seem to be like, you know what? I'd be down to do just about anything.
Yep.
Let's
absolutely.
just do it. Why not? Because even Kristen, who's just like at first like, no, I don't need a kiss. I don't kiss. Da, da, da. Now she's like, but actually, I need to make sure she's okay.
Yep.
I need to like, I care about this person. Like, it's fun.
It's fun. Yeah, no, and I love Tracker like just going ape shit, trying to protect in werewolf form.
And so like, Brendan going, Tracker goes ape shit over the werewolf over the vampire that tried to attack Kristen, and I'm just like, I love this. But yeah, no, the very good role that Kristen got when she was like, wait, I have this skill, can I like use it? And Brennan's like, absolutely you can use it. He's like, all right, she's like, all right, let me move to a different spot. And he goes, all right, because it's up to like 30 feet or whatever. And she rolls really good. And Brennan's just like, oh shit, like, yeah, you've taken out all these people in one go. Like, he seemed very impressed. I was like, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, which is impressive for like how inexperienced Allie Beardsley is at this.
Yeah.
But speaking of speaking of the vampires, Sasha, Lord of Whispers.
Oh my god, he's so obnoxious.
What a great name.
What a great name, but yeah, he's very obnoxious.
Great name. outstanding vocal work by Brennan. Like, just
I just love also that every single person on the team is just like, can we just end his misery? Like, can we just shut him up, please? He's just so annoying.
It's like Darkest Timeline Interview with a Vampire bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the worst person you've ever met.
And he thinks he is top shit. Like, he just thinks he is the shit. And we're just like, bro, you barely survived this. And if we hadn't been here, you would have been dead ages ago. And then he dies. So it's fine. But, like, still, it's like he still thought he was top shit. And then, like, the werewolves are like, oh no, bye.
Yeah. Oh.
But no, perfect character development. So good.
Yeah. And then the end of the episode with them all going back to Fabian's house.
Oh my god. And Fabian is constantly like, okay, if you're going to vomit, do not do it in my house. Poor Fabian. He just gets all the vomit. Like, every time someone vomits, it's somewhere around Fabian. Poor Fabian. And then his mother. Oh my god. She's my new favorite character.
Big immediately hitting on Fabian's mom.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Like, I love it. I'm here for it. It was fun.
Yeah.
And then Fabian's dad showing up and being like sea shanties and shit. And it's just like, I can't.
Oh my god. Fig rolling so good.
Yes.
As a bard, to make Fabian's dad just like, everyone get out of a barrel. We're doing a fucking shanty.
Yes. And then they're like, where did the barrels come from?
They're always in barrels.
Just go with it. This is a pirate king. Just go with it.
It's fine.
I can't. It's hysterical, and I can't wait to pick right back up at his dad's place, because his parents, like, all the parents in their own way are funny, except for Adine's. I don't care about her parents. But every other parent is like, has their own unique quality that makes them funny. And it's just, it's so entertaining.
Yes.
And the freaking bike's gonna come into play again.
I love the season so much.
Honestly, I'm loving it so much too. Like, I was not expecting to love this so much, because I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about people just sit and watch them. How I'm gonna feel about just sitting and watching people play D&D. But no, this is funny.
It's so good. Yeah. Yeah. Next week, Fig does one of the most insane things I've ever seen Emily Axford do as a character, as a player. Nice. And I think it's A, great, and B, I think she should be brought up on War Crimes.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's just insane. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
I will say one of my favorite things is their reactions anytime someone rolls a nat 1. Like, it's just the funniest thing. It's like, oh, okay. They're like all pumped up for a good roll, and then they're like, nat 1.
Yep. And it's not, you know what? Murph doesn't get all the nat 1s, but if it's gonna be a nat 1, it's gonna be Murph.
Yeah. Yep. He gets so many of them.
He's such a bad roller. So funny.
But it plays into his character so well.
Oh yes, yeah. Which goes to what I've been saying the last few weeks of, like, roles informing character really nicely.
Yeah, it really does.
So let's move on to our next show, which is Bob's Burgers, season 14, episode 4, entitled "Running Down a Gene."
Oh, Eugene.
Oh, Gene, you're just kind of dumb.
Just, dude, listen. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt when he was like, "Oh yeah, I wrote a really good song, but it's in my dream." And then like he finally does figure it out, and it's just like, nope, I gave you way too much credit.
Yeah.
Saturday comes before Sunday, and I'm like, nope, gave you way too much credit, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, Gene, he's just yeah, it's a thing where like most of his jokes, like if you break down like all the kids' jokes, like Louise's is always like bordering on some kind of chaos. Like whatever
Yep.
chaotic thing she can make a joke about, that's the joke. And then with like Tina, it's something weirdly sexual or about horses.
Right.
And then Jane is just something dumb, you know, like
Something
deeply
dumb.
stupid. And like that's kind of like the modus operandi of like all of their punchlines,
Mm-hmm.
like all the jokes the show gives them. And like that's Gene. He's just kind of dumb.
And then actually, like all those personalities really do come and play with jokes in this episode because, like, you know, we get to the end of the episode and Louise and Tina have caught the cricket and they've, you know, their mother has paid up, you know, whatever. And Louise goes, "So can I let it free in the restaurant so we can do this all over again?" And her mother's like, "No, let it go away. Like, get it away from here. I'm not going to pay you again to find the same cricket." Like,
Yeah. No, and I love the antagonistic relationship that Linda has with the cricket during this episode, calling it like a psychopath.
yes. She's like, "It's taunting me." And like Jean suddenly becomes this person that's like, "I'm done with school. I'm immediately going to go to bed." And then he can't go to bed because the cricket. So like everyone's story in this episode intersects with each other at some point in the most chaotic way possible.
Yeah. 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 It's a pretty funny episode.
It was pretty good, yeah.
Pretty good. And I love I love the return of the librarian here.
Oh my god.
Just
Voiced perfectly by what's his name?
Billy Eichner.
Billy Eichner. Yeah, this librarian is like, "Get the fuck out of my life.
Please
Never come back. Leave me alone." Which is very Billy Eichner. Like, it's very Billy Eichner. But
it's a very Billy Eichner role. And yeah, works pretty well here. I always think in relation to the show of like the same thing with like The Simpsons, of like The Simpsons have been going on for so long and you can kind of tell like the decline, you know, like after a certain point in The Simpsons. And I'm always thinking about that with like Bob's Burgers of like, where is the decline? Because there is a decline, but it's like fractional, you know.
yeah, they have good episodes here and there or bad episodes here and there, but like for the most part they flow well and they're funny. So like, and it's very rare that there's a show, especially one that's in its 14th season, that doesn't seem to have a set moment of decline or moment of stagnation. Like anytime someone brings up Supernatural, I'm always just like, "Oh, you mean the show that went on like 10 seasons longer than it needed to?" Okay, cool. There were good parts in those 10 seasons beyond the end of the 5th season, but like we didn't need whole seasons. Like,
right. And
like that show could have gone on for 6 seasons total and we would have been hunky dory fine.
right. And like it's hard for me to imagine like season 14 of The Simpsons doing an episode like Rudy's episode a couple of weeks ago. You know,
Oh, so good.
like Bob's Burgers is still like very on its game in a lot of respects. I did like seeing Rudy back in this episode, and more normal.
I know. I think one of the good things about this show, and granted, I've not watched all of the seasons. I've barely watched anything beyond the episodes we've been watching here. But like one of the things that I really appreciate and like about this show is that like kind of like with Reservation Dogs, it does heartfelt episodes, but then it also like makes you roll on the floor laughing because it's just like this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever watched, but yet I fully enjoyed myself.
Yep.
And then you get the episodes like the Rudy episode, and you're just like, oh my god. Like I'm gonna cry. You need to stop making me feel things, Bob's Burgers.
Dare you, sir or madam?
How dare you?
How dare you? So let's move on to our next show, which is Loki, season 2, episode 5, Science/Fiction. This is the penultimate episode of the season, which is insane.
It's the what episode?
Penultimate.
Seriously?
Yeah.
We only have one more episode?
Correct.
But there's only been like 5.
Yep.
What the hell is wrong with these shows that we can't get like at least 10 episodes?
Yep. The first season only had 6 episodes too.
Okay, whatever. I still don't care. That's insane to me.
But I like this episode a lot. I think it's very good. It's very well made. It's aggressively my shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm gonna be dead honest. I saw a fake like movie trailer thing for Loki Mobius prior to watching this episode that had moments from this episode.
right.
And so I was just like, oh, this is super gay. And I watched the episode and I'm like, it's not that far off. It is super gay.
Yeah,
like...
it's so pretty gay. It's so pretty gay. Yeah.
Oh, Mobius got to sell his jet skis.
Yeah.
I do like seeing these characters in alternate lives. Like that's cool.
Yeah, and the lives that they had before they were plucked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really good. And yeah, like Mobius selling jet skis and ATVs and all that stuff. It's really good.
And they're really like they make it like he should be overly happy. Mobius should be happy because he's selling these things that he loves. He, supposedly had a wife and family, whatever. Like he should be happy, and yet he is the most miserable we've ever seen him until Loki shows up.
Right.
Huh. I wonder what that means. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's queer as a duck. Anyways, I'm not that invested in this show, but I'm invested in Loki Mobius.
Right.
Whatever their name is.
Well, I like that this episode gets into like the actual why of why Loki wants to do all the things he wants to do, like present the TVA, stop He Who Remains and Kang and the variants from coming in and
right,
like, getting everyone on their proper path, like or back to where they were. I saw this thing that Carolyn Cedar wrote, formerly of the AV Club, about this episode.
Uh-huh.
And she put all this really well. The show hasn't been as clear on this as it should be, but I'm just talking about the temporal loom stuff. So like episodes 1 through 4, we buy into the idea that like the temporal loom exploding will destroy life, will destroy the universe as we know it, while also acknowledging that no one actually knows what will happen if the loom explodes because it's never happened before. And like the bar scene in this episode is like twist number 1. It turns out that the temporal loom exploding just sent everyone back to their respective timelines. Loki was wrong. It didn't end the universe. He's sad that he has to be alone now, but it's all an emotional problem, not a plot one. And then the end of this episode brings twist number 2. Never mind, it turns out that the temporal loom exploding actually is destroying the universe, and they must save it for real. Loki was right. Sylvie was wrong. Now it's a plot problem again. So it's messy, but that messiness is intentional.
And it makes sense for the characters as they are. Like, it's a controlled mess.
Right, yes. And yeah, so I think it's really essential to like get into both like the plot and the emotional. Of like why Loki wants to do what he's doing, and it comes into fruition really nicely at the end of the episode when everyone just becomes strands of the universe.
Yeah.
And that's really beautifully shot and well done. But you have the overlay of Sylvie saying maybe what it is to be a Loki is to just suffer, right, or something to that effect, right, and that all brings it like into contrast really well, for me at least.
Right. Someone I forget who it was, but someone I follow on Twitter had after watching this episode had said, we need to allow Tom Hiddleston to play Loki for as long as he wants to, because he does such a good job with it, and he brings nuance to the character at every turn, and it's such a fun journey to go on. And I agree. Like, I've never been a huge paying attention of Loki. Like, he's been there in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, he's part of the MCU. He's a character. He's fun, whatever. But like this show, finally watching it, I'm like, he has a lot of depth and complexity to him that like a lot of the films in the MCU overlook because he's not the main focus, and so it doesn't matter. And like, I don't know, Tom Hiddleston's performance is just top tier.
Yeah, it's really fantastic, honestly. So let's move on to our next show, which is Found Season 1, Episode 5, Missing While Undocumented. And I caught up with this over the week. I caught up with the last 3 episodes, and it's fine. I don't know. I feel a lot more lukewarm on this than a lot of people do.
I really enjoyed this episode in particular. I found it to be very informative of, Dawn's past and things like that. Like, it's very good, but like, we shouldn't be, 4 or 5 episodes in and just now finding out the tiniest crumbs of information about one of the team members. Like, it's taking them way too long to give us more information about why we should care about these characters beyond Gabby. Like, yes, Gabby's the main focus, but like, she shouldn't be the only focus. Like, we don't know enough about these other characters, and that was one of the criticisms I said about this episode.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah, and it's also like it's difficult to watch like the Don stuff in this episode of like because it is so clearly an unhealthy coping mechanism.
Yep.
And the show seemed unwilling or reluctant to engage with it in that manner because like from my perspective it's either a thing that will either come to fruition one day and is actually a good thing that she's doing, or B, a long-standing griefing tactic.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's the latter, then it's deeply unhealthy.
Right. Like that's the thing that like bothers me about Gabby, and I feel like no one is really talking about it, is that like she knows all this information about each of these members of her team, but she does not give that information to the other members of the team, so no one knows how to deal with each other. And she doesn't use it in a way that's like, I need to help you be a better, more grounded person. I'm going to actually utilize your trauma to achieve my ends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. But also like the Sir part of the show is really weird, and I don't know how to feel about it the longer the show goes on.
Honestly, it's getting to the point. At first, I was like, okay, this is interesting. But now it's to the point of why? What is the purpose of this? Like, I don't understand why we're continuing this. I understand in a way, yes, in this episode, it helped the plot a bit about her dealing with the emotions of her father passing and all that stuff. But, like, at the same time, you can achieve that without this asshole being locked in your basement.
Right, because we're doing a Silence of the Lambs riff, right? Except the guy's in her basement. But
right,
we could achieve the same things by him just being in prison.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I'm like, I was a little unsettled by is like when in this episode when he calls her a monster, I'm like, I actually don't disagree with you, and that disturbs me a little bit.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I feel like this show is preparing a twist with that character. And I don't know what that is, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but it feels like it's holding back.
Yeah.
And that makes me uncomfortable.
Yep.
Because either I'm supposed to view this man as a monster or I'm not.
Right. And I don't like this back and forth of how I feel about it. And again, I don't like when characters don't communicate to each other about things. Like, it drives me insane. Like, yes, I understand it for the plot to a point, but some of this stuff is like, okay, after 2 episodes, this shouldn't still be happening. This should be dealt with. Like, Lacey has known that Gabby is lying to her for like 2 episodes now, and I'm like, why haven't you fucking confronted her? Like, just confront her and be like, I noticed you lied to me on this such and such situation. And it's like, just point blank ask her about Sir. Like, come on. Like,
right, because it's not a vague thing that she knows that Gabby lied.
Right.
It's not like a sixth sense of like, oh, she lied about something. She knows that she lied about Sir.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be drawing a bigger conversation.
It definitely should. And going back to this whole trauma thing and how Gabby like plays into it, I did say in my review that I enjoyed that Dawn and Zeke seemed to finally be communicating with each other and bonding in a positive way. It's still not healthy, but it's at least moving towards positive. Like, they actually understand each other on a certain level now. But Gabby's pulling that string, And I don't like that. I don't like
Right.
that she's using their traumas against each other. Like, I just don't like it. It's manipulation, and I've been manipulated in my life, and I don't like it.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how this progresses.
Yeah, I feel like the show is in a weird place where it's setting things up or it's trying to do future things, and I don't know what those are, and that puts it in nebulous areas.
Yep.
But anyway, let's move on to our next show of the week, which is Quantum Leap, Season 2, Episode 5, One Night in Koreatown. And this is Quantum Leap trying to tackle a serious issue. Similarly, it had a Trans Girls in Sports episode last season. And this is them trying their hand at it again. It definitely feels like old school Quantum Leap in a certain way. But this this leap being set after the original Quantum Leap lets them deal with things that like the original wouldn't or couldn't. So I think that's interesting, and there are a lot of like connections to original Quantum Leap.
Yep.
Like Magic's wife. Does the episode ever state whether or not they're married or just together?
It heavily implies that they're married, but I don't think it comes out right and states that that's what their relationship is.
Right. But anyways, she is the wife of Al, who is the hologram in the original Quantum Leap. And so there's a bunch of connections like that of like and also of Al was an alcoholic in the original one, and his wife was going to leave him. And so there's a lot of like fun little parallels for like people that have people that watch the original series. That I think is really fun in this episode. I think that I think they do the Rodney King riot stuff as well as they can.
Right. It's a very complicated
right.
situation.
It's not everything that I would have wanted. But I think the bare minimum for an episode like this is for the police to not come out looking good, and they don't.
No, and so the thing that kept running through my mind with this episode had nothing to do with the plot, had nothing to do with the characters, and everything to do with the actor who played the dad, because he was on Dexter
Yep.
as the raunchiest, most obnoxious lab technician that worked alongside Dexter, and I couldn't get that character out of my head. So like I couldn't take this stern Korean father seriously. Which is my own problem. It's my problem, but like it was a good story. I just literally in the back of my head the whole time I was just like nope, he's not that character, but like that's what I saw.
Yes.
But it was definitely, there were notes of it that went directions I was not expecting. Like in the beginning when it's discovered the brother is like giving money to the African American kid that keeps coming into the store, like I literally thought it was related to drugs. Like that was the automatic thought I had, which is horrible in hindsight, but like it kind of made you think that anyways, like with the way the dad reacts to that character and just kind of how shady everything was. You were like, oh, this can't be a positive thing that he's doing. And it turns out that it is. They're trying to create a shoe line, and it's like, that's so cool. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It just, to me, the episode felt a little more preachy than other episodes have.
Right.
And it's like you said, it's hard to do the content matter they were aiming for without having moments of preachiness, I think. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. And I liked Magic filling in as the hologram for this episode, following Addison and Ben's falling out.
mhm.
Which does put Addison in like a weird territory of like, what do you do with this character now? Because her entire design is to be the hologram. Uh, so she's not, what do you do with that character? Not sure. But I like Magic sliding into that slot, and yeah, I mean, obviously does a really good job at it this week. Although I
Mhm.
think the show wants us to believe that Magic is older than I would think he is.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned that he was in the '67 riots when he was on leave from the military,
Mhm.
which would make him at least 18 years old, like
What,
56 years
30
ago.
years prior?
Yeah, so he has to at least be 84, 85, which is older than I would think Magic is, right?
Wait. What? What year was the Rodney King?
Well, it was Rodney King was in '92, but Magic mentions um, the riots in 1967.
Yeah, well, that's only like 30, like not even 30 years difference.
Well, that was 57 years because he mentions that in the present day.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Okay. My
Yeah.
brain's like, sorry. My brain was thinking if he was, anyway. But still, like, I don't know. I see him as like late 60s, which is still technically possible ish.
I mean,
Like, late 60s, early 70s. So, like, that could be what he is. But
based on that, he would be like 84, 85.
whatever. So he's still kicking. He looks pretty damn good.
I mean, Ernie has,
Listen, you're not supposed to look at it too closely, Drew. Haven't you learned anything from television ever?
no. No. I mean, in fairness, Ernie Hudson is 77.
Ernie Hudson, I love him.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking about this. Eliza Taylor is a series regular for this season, right? Because
I guess.
she has
I'm
been
gonna
in
go
one
off of what
episode.
you're saying.
Like, she was billed as a series regular for this season.
Listen, we still have a few more episodes.
I mean, she's gonna be in next week's episode.
See?
But this is the 5th episode. She's been in one episode. I'm just saying, people, this is not what a series regular is.
No, series regular is gonna, if you have 5 episodes, they're in 2 to 3.
Right. Although the thing I always remember is the fact that, like, it wasn't until, like, the 12th season that Jim Beaver was a series regular on Supernatural.
And he was in practically every episode from season 2 on. Like,
Yeah.
come on. And wasn't that the season that they killed him?
I think so, yeah.
So that's how we figure it out with well, that was something that like has come up with regards to our flag and Izzy dying. Like there are some people that are like, I kind of saw this coming because I've been watching television long enough. Like they're like, oh, this character's finally getting a storyline and something worth their salt. Oh, they're gonna die.
They're gonna die. Yeah.
Anyways, but it'll be interesting to see how she comes back up, you know?
Right. Well,
Considering she was in a jump. She wasn't part of Quantum Leap or present day. She was part of a jump. So like that'll be interesting to see how that comes back into play.
right. I saw one person theorize that maybe it's a Impossible Girl Clara Oswald situation.
Okay.
As this person who keeps on getting reincarnated every time.
What if she's like another jumper?
There is like this whole mythos within Quantum Leap of like evil leapers.
Okay.
And like evil leapers. I believe this was even in like the original series of like evil leapers trying to undo all the good things that like Sam and Ben try to do.
I mean, listen. That would be fun.
Yeah. But
anyway, the show continues to interest me. I enjoy myself, and I'm like, I don't know why I didn't watch this on my own without Drew being like, we're gonna watch this.
Well, it's good fun.
It is good fun. And Raymond Lee is just astonishing. He's just so good.
He's really good. Although at a certain like he's Ben the character is having conversations with nobody far too long, and no one's calling him on it.
There was like one moment in this episode where someone was like, "What are you? Who are you talking? What?" And then it just never gets brought up again. And I'm like, the dude talks to air.
Dude talks to air for like 5 minutes.
The dude is constantly talking to air. Like, do you guys not find this appalling or unsettling ever? Okay, cool. It's just the suspension of belief about people noticing things.
Right.
And it comes up a lot in like fantasy stories, especially with magic. They're like, oh no, people don't notice these things. Like it was always funny in Merlin when Merlin would do magic and how stupid they made everyone around him seem, because like, how did you not notice this dude literally threw a spell at that? Like, how did you not notice? But as much as I don't want to mention this series, there's a line in Harry Potter that's like, well, muggles, they don't see anything, do they? And it's just like, it's true. Like, people generally don't see anything unless they're really paying attention. So, like, you can get away with stuff. So, who's to say?
Well, like, I remember that even on, like, Person of Interest, where, like, Jim Caviezel's talking into his earpiece. And it's like, no one thinks that's odd. No one thinks that's weird. You're just a man talking. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Nobody questions it.
Nobody questions that. It's fine.
It's one of my favorite things on shows that have non-average, everyday elements to them. And so like, yeah, I just chuckle when and I actually noticed it a lot more in this episode because he's just like, because they're all sequestered into one location for the most part. And so like, it's very obvious that he's talking to air. In other episodes, he can easily like blow it off as like, oh, I'm on the phone, or oh, you don't see me because I'm gonna hide behind this bush while I'm talking to my person. And it's just this one, he can't get around it. Like,
yeah,
it's right there. Well, I do like that when he speaks Korean, because it's Ben that knows Korean, not the actual person he's jumped into. Mm-hmm. The dad is like, when did you learn Korean? And I'm like, wait, that's the end of that conversation? We're not going to fully explore that? Okay, cool.
The only thing that makes that funnier is that after Ben leaves, that dad is going to think that his son can continue to speak Korean. And the dad will think that he's pretending not to just to screw with him.
Yep. Oh, I can't. So good.
So let's move on to our last show of the week, which is Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 4, Episode 10, Old Friends, New Planets.
It was fun to see Wesley.
Yep.
For a hot second, I was like, wait, I remember this Wesley. Like, I remember this general iteration of Wesley.
And the fun thing about that that scene, that prologue, is that all of the actors came back for that. So, Will Wheaton came back.
Wheaton?
And the actor who played Sito came back, even though she hasn't been in anything for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like she has like a full normal day job that does not have anything to do with acting or entertainment.
And they called her up and were like, listen, we have this 5-minute bit we need you to do. Can you please come back in?
Yep. And and Robert Duncan McNeil came back, not as Tom Paris, which is fun. It's fun big casting, and I like the jokes about Tom Paris that they make about him.
It was definitely a really decent finale. I didn't feel any particular way overall about it in general. Like it was okay. I don't know. It just I don't know. I feel like they've been hinting at this problem all season long, obviously, but like I don't know. I feel like it could have had a bigger impact maybe if it had been more of a focus all season. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I was just like, oh, we're bringing this back up. Oh, now it's a real big problem. Okay.
Right. Well, like, it's been in the background all season, but I feel like it would have greater weight if they were still actually lower deckers.
Yeah.
You know, if they were,
because that was his like intention with what he was doing, was that he's like, I want to get the disenfranchised to like participate, and I'm like, they aren't disenfranchised anymore. They're lieutenants.
Right. So if they were still, you know, privateer ensigns, if they were still ensigns, I think this would have a bigger impact, or have a greater parallel to what they're, you know, to everything that's happening with them. But I still think it's still a rather good and fun finale.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I enjoyed myself. It was fun to see Tendy's family again. And then to see Tendy be like, you know, fight for this ship, and then her sister be like, well, I didn't tell you it would be a working ship. That was a fun moment.
Yeah.
But also just him thinking that stealing Mariner or kidnapping Mariner and she was just gonna go along with it. I'm like, do you not know her entire track record? Like this is a girl who does not follow what is expected at all.
Right. Well, and I think it goes to show that he does not actually know Mariner.
Yeah.
He knew Mariner as she was when she was at the academy.
Yep.
Which, as other people have pointed out, was very Boimler-ish.
Which again points to what we talked about last week on how old is Mariner? Like
unclear. Truly unclear. At the very least, she's 10 years older than him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea how
Well, I mean, which could really fit in considering how many times she's been promoted / then demoted. So, like, her being in lower decks in the first season with them makes sense. Like, she purposely ruined her career over and over again because she didn't like being in a position of management, so to speak. So, like, it is very possible that, like, she's, a good 10 years on them.
Right.
I don't know. But it was interesting. Definitely. It was very interesting when she was just like at the beginning when she realizes who it is that like took her. She's like, "Seriously?" Like she literally is just like, "Oh my god, we're still on this?" Like you could tell she was just like, "Oh man, this is not going to be fun. He's an idiot." But yeah, I enjoyed myself. I was just like, okay, this could have been stronger, but it's not terrible.
Right.
Anyway,
yeah, I am actually looking this up.
what?
Hang on there. Okay, so Sito Jackson died in 2370, which puts it like very firm. That was like what, like a year or two after that whole Academy accident. And Lower Decks takes place in 2380. So yeah, Mariner has a good 10 years.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's it. So that is it for this week. Next week, we're going to be talking about the new Goosebumps series on Disney Plus. So stay tuned for that. Until next week, where can we find you online?
I'm on all the socials at Dorothy NYC89. Mostly on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. Occasionally I remember I have a Blue Sky. So but mostly I'm on Twitter.
Nice. And I am on Twitter at the Drew Koenig and Drew Koenig on Blue Sky, Substack, DrewKoenig.substack.com, and on Serialized, where I am logging all the TV from the week that I'm watching. You can follow the podcast at Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at None of the TV Podcast. And you can email us at noneofthetvpodcast@gmail.com. Any thoughts, comments, questions, listener submissions, goat recommendations you have. We appreciate anything. We'll read it on the podcast. You can find more of our episodes at Apple Podcasts and YouTube, where you can subscribe and leave us a review. Until next week, please remember, dog on the ocean, none of your business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.